The story starts in the summer of 1999, where an elderly man named Ivan Fyodorovich Avanin lives with his granddaughter, Katya Avanina, in a modest apartment. Ivan is a strong and highly respected World War II veteran who served as a sniper. He now enjoys a peaceful retirement in a pleasant residential area. Katya, his granddaughter, is a lovely and compassionate young woman. Because her mother works abroad, Katya lives with her grandfather to continue her education. Meanwhile, not far from Ivan's residence, there were three young men named Vadim, Boris, and Igor. They were feeling bored and looking for a way to pass the time, typically by hiring a prostitute for their own satisfaction. However, on this particular day, they couldn't find a prostitute, so they decided to search for an alternative. As luck would have it, they spotted a woman passing by their apartment, and her beauty and slender figure caught their attention. Igor, realizing that Katya was a school friend, called out to her. Igor and Vadim approached Katya and tried to convince her to come to their apartment, claiming they wanted to celebrate a friend's birthday. Katya initially declined the invitation, as she had plans to go home after her shopping. However, Igor and Vadim pleaded with her, even kneeling in front of her, and eventually, Katya gave in and agreed to join them. When she arrived at the apartment, Boris pretended it was his birthday and wanted to celebrate it with Katya. The three young men invited her to have some drinks, but Katya refused to consume alcohol, as she wanted to avoid getting heavily intoxicated. Vadim then asked Katya to sing a birthday song for Boris. As Katya happily sang, Igor secretly added something to her drink. Katya took a sip and soon felt that something was wrong with her body. When she tried to leave, Boris and the others stopped her and revealed their true intentions. Realizing she was trapped, Katya attempted to escape, but the three of them overpowered her. After their disgraceful act, they allowed her to return home. However, before that, Igor gave Katya some money, as if she were a prostitute. Katya immediately threw away the money because, to her, money couldn't repair her damaged dignity after what those three young men had done to her. When she got home, her disappointment and heartache overwhelmed her, and she couldn't stop crying. Ivan, her grandfather, saw Katya's tears and came over to comfort her. He then noticed a bloodstain and quickly understood what had happened. Ivan asked Katya about the individuals responsible for this terrible act, and she told him it was Igor, Boris, and Vadim. Filled with anger, Ivan hastily grabbed a weapon and set off to confront the young men responsible for Katya's ordeal. However, on his way, a neighbor named Alexei, who happened to be a local policeman, intercepted him. Ivan recounted the terrible incident involving Katya to Alexei. The policeman assured Ivan that he would investigate the assault allegations and advised him to remain calm, warning that seeking revenge could land him in jail and hinder justice for Katya. After hearing this, Ivan decided to let the police handle the situation. Alexei promptly reported the incident to his superior, Kashev, and they assembled a team to raid the young men's residence. The police interrogated Igor and the others and found various pieces of evidence supporting Katya's claims. However, during the investigation, a man named Nikolai Pasutin, a police colonel and Vadim's father, appeared. Learning that his son was a suspect, Nikolai asked Kashev to close the case, offering money and a promotion to protect Vadim from imprisonment. At first, Kashev refused Nikolai's offer, as he was committed to upholding justice. However, under constant pressure and threats from Nikolai, Kashev eventually gave in and released Vadim and his friends from the allegations. Meanwhile, Ivan was deeply concerned about Katya's mental well-being. Since the incident, she had been isolating herself in the bathroom. Ivan decided to call a psychiatrist to help Katya with the depression she was going through. The psychiatrist informed Ivan that the only way for Katya to overcome her depression was to try and forget the incident, which would be a challenging task. The following day, Ivan received a call from his daughter, informing him that she would come to visit Katya. Ivan then told Katya about her mother's upcoming visit, but she seemed indifferent due to her lingering depression. Ivan also informed her that the police were investigating the case and encouraged Katya to provide her statement at the police station. Katya, wanting to move on from the traumatic events, expressed her desire to put it all behind her. However, Ivan was determined to seek justice for Katya and make sure the three young men faced the consequences of their actions. Ivan accompanied Katya to the police station, where she bravely recounted the events to an officer. However, to her shock, the officer accused her of being a prostitute who had planned to extort money from Igor and his friends. Katya, seeking justice as a victim, was devastated by these accusations. It seemed that Nikolai Pasutin's bribery had influenced the police to turn against her and treat her as a culprit rather than a victim. Furious upon learning that the police had closed the case and released the perpetrators, Ivan decided to seek justice for his granddaughter through legal means. He happened to come across the three young men near his home and gave them a stern look filled with anger. Ivan then met with the prosecutor to explain the incident that had befallen Katya, hoping that his status as a war hero might persuade the prosecutor to reopen the case. However, the prosecutor declined, stating that all evidence pointed to Katya setting up Igor and his friends for financial gain. Ivan was filled with anger and disappointment upon hearing the prosecutor's words. It seemed that they had bribed people within the legal system to close Katya's case and release Igor, Vadim, and Boris as suspects. Ivan returned home, hiding his frustration with the authorities who had been swayed by money. He was determined to take matters into his own hands and seek revenge against the three young men. Lacking the funds to buy a sniper rifle, Ivan decided to sell a small piece of his rural land. After successfully selling the land, he returned home, only to learn from Katya that Colonel Pashutin had visited and offered money for a peaceful settlement. Ivan was furious at the offer because he knew that his family's honor couldn't be bought with money. He went to Colonel Pashutin's house, tossed the money back at him, and made it clear that money couldn't solve everything. During lunch with Katya, she told Ivan that their neighbors had given him the keys to their apartment as they would be away for 3 weeks. Ivan became even more determined to carry out his revenge plan, as the neighbor's apartment had a strategic location overlooking the residence of the three young men, ensuring that his actions wouldn't raise suspicion. Ivan secretly traveled to Moscow without Katya's knowledge to buy a weapon. He visited illegal arms dealers and purchased a sniper rifle with a suppressor and ammunition. Ivan tested the rifle and was pleased to find that his sniper skills from his military service were still sharp. He hurried back home and hid the weapon in his neighbor's apartment. Ivan's daughter, Olga, later arrived, and instead of showing concern for Katya, she asked for money from the land sale. Ivan and Olga argued, and he told her to leave immediately. The next day, Ivan began to carry out his plan. He carefully assessed the situation and went to the location where he would take his shot. Ivan aimed and fired at a wine bottle held by Igor, hitting him in a vital organ and causing severe injuries that required hospitalization. After taking his shot, Ivan quickly left the area, covering his tracks, and mingled with a crowd of onlookers to create an alibi. Nikolai Pasutin then visited the young men's residence to investigate the shooting incident that had wounded Igor. Nikolai questioned Vadim and Boris about what had happened, but the two young men claimed they hadn't heard the gunshot and thought it was just an accident. However, Nikolai didn't accept it as an accident and suspected Ivan's involvement, especially since Alexei knew about Ivan's background. Still, Alexei couldn't find any evidence linking Ivan to Igor's injury, so he couldn't interrogate him. The next day, Boris arrived with his new car. Seizing the opportunity, Ivan, who was prepared and observing the situation, shot the car's gas tank, causing it to explode. Boris managed to escape the burning car, but he suffered severe burns and had to be rushed to the hospital to save his life. Ivan quickly left the scene and merged into a crowd of onlookers to support his alibi. The scene then shifted to Nikolai, who was at home with his son Vadim. Nikolai warned Vadim not to leave the house because the person who had attacked his two friends might target him as the last victim. Nikolai became increasingly convinced that Ivan was behind the attacks, but couldn't prove it yet. Elsewhere, Alexei visited Ivan's house, where he was warmly greeted by Katya, who seemed to be in better spirits than before. Alexei pretended to pay a social visit, but his real intention was to search for the hidden sniper rifle that Ivan had used in the attacks. However, Alexei couldn't find the rifle. Instead, he discovered the keys to Ivan's neighbor's house as they were away. Nikolai then equipped Vadim with a rifle to stand guard while he and some police officers went to Ivan's house, hoping to find the hidden weapon used in the attacks on Igor and Boris. Much like Alexei, Nikolai couldn't locate the rifle's whereabouts. Eventually, Ivan's neighbor returned home and asked for the keys to their apartment. Thinking that Ivan might have hidden the rifle in his neighbor's house, Nikolai hurried there and ordered a search. However, the police officers also came up empty-handed, failing to find the rifle. This left Nikolai unable to prove Ivan's involvement in the attacks on Igor and Boris. Frustrated, Nikolai threatened Ivan, warning him of serious consequences if anything happened to his son. Ivan, however, interrupted Nikolai and informed him that something had indeed happened to Vadim, implying that Vadim had been affected mentally. Nikolai took Ivan's words literally and rushed home, shooting out the door lock to gain entry. However, in his state of extreme fear and mental disturbance, Vadim ended up firing his rifle, hitting Nikolai, thinking it was Ivan who had shot at him. This tragic incident revealed Vadim's deteriorating mental state. After the shocking turn of events, Alexei visited Ivan and informed him that he had found Ivan's sniper rifle. Rather than reporting Ivan to the police, Alexei decided to help Ivan by disposing of the rifle to prevent any further suspicion falling on him. Back at home, Katya played the guitar and sang once more, signaling her recovery and the return of harmony in their household. Ivan was deeply moved to tears by this heartwarming moment. Moral lesson from the film: never misuse our power to manipulate justice for personal gain, or you might end it with great consequences. It's better to play the guitar, and singing a happy song can bring harmony back into your life.